Just wanted to walk you through one of our trees and tell you kind of our process very briefly. So we've got 7 feet between the sidewalk and the curb, so we've pre-marked this spot. This power bed edger is something we researched, and we want to keep the sod on the site. The most organic matter here is that sod layer, so instead of stripping that away and taking it with us, we want to be able to use it. So we use this machine to prepare the planting site, reduces compaction, makes a more homogeneous soil mix. Then we're going to dig our hole for the tree, and the key when this tree weighs 350 to 400 pounds is to not have to wrestle around with it too much to get it in the center of the hole. So we try to place it between the sidewalk and the curb, equidistant. Then at the very end we put a string line around the tree, we make a perfect circle, and we cut the final hole with this, and that puts the tree dead center in the middle of your hole every time. So it's best to finish the hole after the tree's in the ground. As you can see, our system is very flat. Root systems are in the upper 6 to 9 inches of soil worldwide. Under dynamic loading, as this tree grows, it will be stimulated to throw some sinker roots and heart roots at the base to hold more soil. That's where you see it tipped over along the road. You see a little bit of a dome of soil on the bottom. That's part of the ballast. 95% of the structural support for this tree is in the first 3 to 6 feet from the base. That's why when you see them fail, it's a nice perfect circle. That's the edge of the structural system, and it transitions into the transport system. This tree wants a root system 5 times the height of the tree in all directions. So when this thing's 50 feet tall, it wants to go 250 feet in all directions, but it can't go this way. It can't go underneath the road, so they'll compensate by going twice as far the other direction. So this is the layer of roots. When we buy trees these days, we get them in packages that are convenient for shipping, not necessarily what's good for the tree. So that's why we mimic what's happening in the forest. And then this is a root pruning plastic. The root tip dies when it enters this little dimple, and then it branches behind there. So we have layers of roots pointed out, ready to branch and go into the soil, versus circling inside a pot. Or in the case of a tree spade, where you ball and burlap the tree, you lose 98% of the root system at the moment of that cut. And the tree is expected to recover in your yard or your park. In our case, these roots haven't been severed for over 2 years. So we have very fast performance following planting. So next summer already, you should be seeing these trees putting on significant growth almost across the board. Any questions at this point? I'm going to let my crew show you each step. Typically, on a normal residential project, we can put this tree in the ground in less than 10 minutes, start to finish. And because it's already anchored into this platform, we don't typically stake and strap the tree, which helps. The dynamic loading is what helps stimulate a root system and good development. So I'll get out of your way. Roots need oxygen, so we try to never compact. We don't tamp it down. We don't add water and layer it. The people that talk about air pockets in the soil after planting don't know a thing about root systems. There's 100% humidity down there. We want air pockets, so we don't do anything. It's going to look high when we're done. You come out here in the spring, it'll be flat. We do not want to physically change that. We want as much oxygen in there as possible. These trees will continue to root underneath this mulch all winter if they don't freeze. That's the beauty of fall planting, is it gets a jump on next year's heat, and they literally can grow up to 3 feet of root system out of that planting hole this winter. 400% more root growth underneath that wood chip mulch than under turf grass. So that initial mulch ring, if you can maintain that forever, perfect. If you have a tree that's large and you can't grow grass under it, mulch that area. It's nutrient cycling, it keeps the soil more porous to accept rainwater. We try not to disturb the soil underneath the package. We want to be right spot on with our depth, so it's undisturbed soil so we don't get settling later. At Memorial Park, we are planting where every place a tree is coming out this week. So we're grinding the stump and we're setting the tree right on top of the old stump. And the new root system will follow the old root system. So as that root system rots, that's how the forest does it. As that root system rots, it's organic matter, it's oxygen, and then it's easy pickings to get through the soil. Our system is patent pending, international and domestic, that packaging system. And even the blade is something we developed specific to this system. So we've got multiple patents involved in this process. We offer a 5-year warranty. That part of that warranty is what we call stewardship pruning during those first 5 years. Essentially on a street tree, I want no branches for 20 feet so that your plow trucks, your moving semis, everything can have the curb line. You're supposed to have 14 feet of clearance. So as an urban forester, it bugs me to drive through cities where we haven't taken those little branches off, and someday are going to be like this, right where the trucks go. So almost every branch on the tree I deliver you is temporary. We want to get rid of them. They're juvenile branches. Juvenile branches have poor attachments and they have poor orientation because their job in the forest is to go up when they're juvenile to survive. Less than 2% of the trees in the forest live. Okay, so they're trying to kill each other all the time. So your first job is go up, then push out. So this is our first generation platform. We thought the trees would use those corner blocks and kind of push into them. We didn't, so our second generation we got rid of that. We're already into our third version of this, but that was 2020's version, so it's kind of like buying a car. We keep leaping forward with the technology. So there's none of that removal process now. So it's just, we pull the plastic. The plastic we reuse, we're going to try to get 10 cycles out of every piece of plastic. So trying to be as sustainable as possible. But plastic comes back to us, goes into next year's crop. The wooden base stays in the ground. You want to cut that one, or? Yeah. All right. So any roots that are high in the profile, meaning this root was crossing across the zone of rotate for the spokes of the wheel. So when we're doing this process, if we find a root that's higher than the root flare, that bell-shaped area, we snip it off, because that potentially could be a girdling root where the trunk would hit it and it would start. That's where you see the bark sloughing off. So I've been as far away as Hong Kong doing this. Do a lot of work in Canada. So some international work as long as all over the United States. Almost everywhere you drive in the world, you look at urban trees and they go on the ground like a telephone pole. And that's from the production process. And then not correcting for the production process at planting time to get the root system oriented correctly. It starts to select its main structural roots, the 3 to 12 main roots that make the flare when they're in the first 2 years. And that's also the time we're messing with them from a production and moving standpoint. So that's why we did what we did. And it's a challenge to haul them because it's a big, flat, wide root system, but it's absolutely what's best for the tree. So we figured we'd start with that. And to date, we've had over 4,000 of these go in the ground with the 5-year warranty. And I think we've replaced 3. And I'm not even sure they were our fault. But so we believe in what we're doing. The quickest way to kill a tree after planting is put the root system so deep in the ground there's not enough oxygen for the roots to survive.
So I got a question as far as you had mentioned the roots in their depth. So when people say the roots are going to go down 8 feet and monkey with gas lines and water lines and electrical lines, it's maybe not true?
There's a truth to it.
Okay.
So I wrote the policy for roots and sewers and things in the city of Milwaukee over 30 years ago.
Okay.
And what the research showed was that roots never interfere with water lines because they're pressurized and there's no available oxygen. Roots have no idea something's below ground unless it's releasing oxygen. So most of our sewers in the U.S. are gravity fed, so we don't have to pump sewage. So when we have gravity fed pipes, we have air in the pipes. And it's when the pipes begin to fail that oxygen goes up, and oxygen diffuses up through the soil profile. So a pipe that's 8 feet below ground, if there's oxygen coming from it, the tree root will follow that oxygen down there.
Okay.
Then it finds great stuff,
Sure.
effluent from the sewage, water, oxygen, everything it wants. And we see that more in caves. 200 feet below ground, there's a cave and there's tree roots around the roof of the cave. Well, that cave is an oxygen source. So scuba divers know that when you're in trouble, follow the bubbles because they always go up. So people used to take down a tree because there was roots in their sewer lateral. The moral of the story is every tree you can see is in your sewer lateral. So they're all in there. So it's not a matter of the closest tree has to die. And that's why you're seeing more of the technology now with trenchless. You can replace the sewer lateral, either push a liner in there to fix the existing one or push a new one in there. So you can do it from the street to the house. You don't have to take the trees down.
Say goodbye.